Hello everybody, Darkside Phil here, and welcome to another edition of the Hateful Truth video game review series, where I give you maximum truth and minimum bullshit regarding the latest gaming releases. And the game we're going to be talking about today, you might actually, unfortunately, have a hard time even calling it a game. It's an anomaly. It's kind of a one-of-a-kind. It's a surprising product that a lot of people are kind of saying, I can't believe this even exists. Others are saying, oh, I love it. The reason that there's controversy surrounding this thing has nothing to do with the style, the substance, the graphics, the art direction, or the gameplay of this game. The problem is the fact that this game is being sold at retail for a pretty hefty price tag for the amount of gameplay that you will receive out of this game. And this game seems to be very polarizing. There's some people that are saying, well, we get it, and we love it, and it makes sense, and, you know, we got our money's worth out of it. And other people are saying, I can't believe how you know, people are selling this. How could they be selling this? It's an anomaly. I mean, seriously, this is the first time I can think of in gaming where we've had a situation like this. And so what I really want to discuss today is both the content and the morality of a game called Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes, or Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes, okay? So a few years back, it was announced that, you know, Team Foxhound, Hideo Kojima were working on a new Metal Gear Solid, and everyone was very surprised because he said, you had told us all along when you were developing Metal Gear Solid 4 that that was the last one. And so we thought that that was kind of the ultimate conclusion. If you watch the end of Metal Gear Solid 4, it's a definitive ending. And you're like, what? Where could they be going with this? And so, as Metal Gear Solid 5 was being developed, everyone kind of kept their ear to the ground and found out, oh, okay, this is not the story of the futuristic, you know, Snake who was in Metal Gear Solid 4. This is the story of Big Boss, of the guy who basically started Metal Gear Solid 3 and then Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, and is continuing along that story into a new game. So it kind of is like a parallel timeline kind of thing that happened alongside other events in the Metal Gear Solid franchise, and it shouldn't affect them, okay? So, that being said, as this game was being developed, it's been developed for several years now, we were like, when is it? When's it coming out? What's going on with this game? And we never were really not getting any information on it. It was just told it's in development. So then, with the announcement of the next-gen consoles a year ago, Hideo Kojima came out and announced that there was going to be a game called Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes, and this was going to be the prequel, the game that would bridge the gap between Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, which was that game on portable devices that then got ported to an HD port on the PlayStation 3. I actually played that with John Rambo. And it would bridge with that and this modern game that he was making. And a lot of people said, wow, that's interesting, but a prequel game, or what's this going to be? And everyone kind of was skeptical, but at the same time we said, listen, it's Hideo Kojima, it's Team Foxhound, these guys are good. Whatever they put out usually is really good, with a lot of polish and a lot of cool Easter eggs and cool content, so we're really going to give them the benefit of the doubt, whatever. Then, about a month ago, game review media outlets such as Game Informer, IGN, etc., started getting copies of the game in advance to play and review, and started literally saying on the internet, this game is an hour long. And everyone said, what? There's a game that's going to be sold in stores. It's not a digital download or anything, right? It's not a demo. It's a game that's going to be sold in stores. That's only an hour long. Now then there was controversy because then people came out and said, no, that's bullshit. That's not true at all. I think it was actually Kojima who came out and said, that's not true at all. There's more content than an hour. There's side content. Obviously, who's saying that? They never did any side content, and they probably rushed through the campaign of the game, blah, blah, blah. So for the past month, there's been this big controversy. How much content will there be in Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes? What is it going to entail? Right? And there's all this speculation, all this controversy, and then finally it was released. So, I picked up the game. I don't have it anymore. I traded it in. But I picked up the game for the PlayStation 4. So initially, let me give you my initial impressions of the game. I boot the game up to a cutscene, which you expect. But it's not a long cutscene. It's kind of short and to the point. It actually has a completely optional mode where it has all the backstory of the game. So if you don't remember Peace Walker, if you don't remember, all the things that bridge Metal Gear Solid 3 to Peace Walker to this, you can watch that and get caught up yourself. They don't do a 4-hour cutscene to catch you up on everything that's been going on. There's a very brief introductory cutscene, and it throws you right into the game. And the first thing that struck me when I started playing this game, my God, the graphics on PS4 were amazing. So let me give you some perspective. Incredibly detailed environments. Remember, previous Metal Gear Solid games, and any game, let's face it, usually the character models look good, but anything around the character models, low-res, textures, pop-ins, horrible, things don't load right. The draw distance, you try to zoom in with a scope and you can't see too far, or it's not detailed when you zoom in. Not so with this game. This game, incredibly detailed, environmental effects, cool, environment things that with the sound. The game looked absolutely good. The lighting, my God, the lighting. This is the first game I think I've ever played where you're running across like a tarmac and the sun's beating down on you. You could see shadows of everything on this tarmac being stretched across so realistically that I've never seen that in a game before. All right. So immediately when you start playing the game, you notice the immense amount of effort that were put into the graphics of the game, and you're kind of blown away. Keep in mind, I played it on PS4. I have no idea what the other versions of the game look like. Okay, it is cross-platform. So, you are tasked with the mission of breaking into a Cuban kind of military base and extracting 2 people, Paz and I forget the name of the other guy. They're 2 people who are like minor characters in Peace Walker. You need to save them. They've been kidnapped, and you need to get them out of there. And the thing is, there's multiple ways to go about what you're doing. You can sneak in from different directions. The game kind of pushes you in one direction, kind of tells you what to do, but that doesn't mean you have to do that. You know what I mean? It is completely open world, and I want to emphasize that. For this prison camp, you can go to any point at any time if you can figure out how to do it. For example, there's certain people who walk up to certain doors and unlock them at certain times, and then you can sneak through. There's cars, there's vehicles that drive around. As you drive up to a gate, the gate will open. Oh, now you can sneak through behind the vehicle. There's security cameras that you need to be aware of. If you get viewed by a security camera, all the troops will run out to that area and be alerted and try to find you. The gameplay has been refined to the point where it is much easier to control Snake now. I think some people are going to say the game's been made too easy. And what I mean by that is there were instances when there was a guy, I could see him, he was clearly looking my direction, but he was further away, and because he was a certain distance from me, he didn't detect me at all. There were other instances where maybe there was a guy who was, staring at me, and he saw me, and I didn't think he would have seen me, but he did. So it's kind of a mixed bag of, there's basically a distance where each guard can see you, a cone of vision, and it's hard to tell in the game what that cone of vision is. Important to know, the mini-map that used to exist and have all those cone of visions for the troops and everything is gone. It doesn't exist anymore. It's more of a modern, on-the-fly kind of game where you got to figure out stuff on your own. You can't rely on this map to tell you what to do in the mission, okay? So, what you do have is a fully 3D scanned map that has like, a 3D scale model of the camp, and you can use that to try to figure out what areas to go to. And the combat is much easier. The CQC is just sneak up, press a button, or press it once or twice, and you're done, versus the old CQC where it was like complicated and you had to really figure out how to do it. The gunplay is easier as well. It's a lot easier to get headshots in this game. And there's a new feature added in that's controversial, okay? I believe it's called either Reflex or Instinct. Forgive me because I didn't, memorize everything, but if you're about to be detected or you're in the process of being detected by someone, the game slows down into bullet time. And you now have an instance where you move faster than normal and you're able to possibly disable that troop, whether it's through shooting them in the face, shooting them in the body a few times so they die, maybe if you're close enough, grabbing them and doing CQC, and if you perform it quickly enough and you down them, they will not be alerted and the troops will not be alerted at all. If you fail, all the troops on the base will be alerted and they'll start coming out looking for you, okay? So it's an interesting feature, but a lot of the hardcore Metal Gear Solid fans are saying that's a crutch. That shouldn't be in the game. That's for more modern gamers who don't want the more difficulty spike of never being detected, right? So there is actually the ability to disable that function of the game in the menus if you wish to, because you want to play more hardcore. So, outside of all that, your goal is to sneak through this camp. First of all, find one of the people who's been kidnapped in this camp, interrogate them, then extract them. And this is a cool new thing where you actually have the ability to call in a chopper to certain parts of the map. And it's not, there are different parts you can call it into. Some of them could be unsafe parts where there's guards and you're risking now getting shot to have a chopper come in and try to extract someone. Or you could have safer parts that are outside of the camp, but of course it's more work to sneak completely out of the camp and not be detected. So in my playthrough, I found the male guy that I was trying to find. I freed him, called in a chopper, rushed out with the dude on my shoulder, put him in the chopper evac'd, and they said, okay, now you gotta find the girl. The girl was not in an easy place. She was in a hidden bunker. So what you needed to do is listen to an audio tape that the guy had. When you listen to the tape, you can hear a few things. First of all, you hear sounds of like a chopper. So you immediately think, oh, it must be near a helipad. Then you hear a gate opening. You say, oh, it must be behind a gate. So you go to the helipad, you find the gate, you find a way in, and the way that I did was I snuck. There was actually a grating that you could sneak in and go through an air duct and come out the other side. You didn't have to do it like that. You actually could have also waited for a vehicle to drive up and the door would open for the vehicle, but I did it a different way, okay? So I snuck in, disabled a few troops, went down underground to an underground bunker, found the girl, grabbed her, and the thing was, as I grabbed her, someone detected a troop that I had knocked out, so they knew that I had actually was there, and so they alerted everyone. So now I grabbed her and I started running to get out of there, and I had to, because then when they noticed she wasn't in her cell, the whole base is on full alert. So now I was in full book it mode. I called the chopper out again, I ran out of there with the girl, boom, rescued her, mission complete. You get in the chopper, you get a cutscene that I don't want to spoil, but the cutscene does very well bridge the plot of this prequel and Metal Gear Solid 5 Phantom Pain, which is coming out who knows when. And then it runs the credits and it's over. So all in all, my gameplay of doing the main mission of this game was 1 hour, was like 56 minutes, and it was probably about 30 minutes of cutscene. So you're talking an hour and a half. That is the main game of Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes. Now, when you beat the main mission, you then get told, okay, here's how you did, here's your point rating. If you did things differently, you would have had more points. So for example, if you never alerted the guards, if you saved other people, because there were actually other prisoners, other refugees who you could have saved instead of just the one main male dude at the beginning of the mission, and other optional stuff. So there is replayability for you to want to go back, okay, and play and get a higher score. And that's traditionally what people who like Metal Gear Solid do. They challenge themselves to get the highest ratings and scores. Once you beat that main mission, it now unlocks 4 optional missions for you. And the optional missions range from various objectives. One of them is find 2 specific troops who are on the base and execute them because they're some kind of or war criminal, something like that. One of them is do an on-rails shooter segment from a chopper to rescue a prisoner. And the big Easter egg here is the prisoner is Hideo Kojima, who is supposed to be a double agent, so it's very, very silly. There's another mission where you have to get intel, but you can't get the intel yet. You have to rendezvous with an undercover troop, and that troop will tell you, he's a double agent, he'll tell you where to get the intel. Then you have to go sneak across the base, go into like a guard tower that's very heavily guarded, and find the intel and get out of there in time after the guards are alerted. And then final side mission is there's anti-air turret guns in this base, and you have to blow them up. And basically you have to find people who have explosives, whether RPGs or whatever, and blow them up. Obviously when you blow one up, everyone gets alerted, so you have to hide until the alert goes away, and then do the same thing with the other ones, and then get the fuck out of there. So I just described 4 different missions, but they all take place in the exact same Cuban prison camp, military base, whatever you want to call it, as the main mission. So really, yeah, there's side content, but the side content is just doing optional objectives in the same exact area. There is a final mission, okay, that I never played, and let me explain to you why. I played Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes on release day, okay? In order to play the optional mission, now the optional mission supposedly is console specific. If you buy it on PS4, it's a different optional mission than you get on the Xbox One, okay? I don't know, but in order to unlock it, you need to find 9 tapes. They call them tapes, but all they are invisible items that are hidden throughout this Cuban camp. So over the course of you doing all the content, the 4 side missions and the main campaign, you have to just by complete chance happen upon, oh my god, there's a prompt that there's something on the ground. You pick it up and it's one of these tapes. Once you find all 9 of them, you unlock this optional side content mission. What the fuck were they thinking with this? So let me get this straight. I bought the game on a specific console, I got a console specific mission, but you want me to do a fetch quest. A cryptic fetch quest with no clues whatsoever as to where these tapes are in order to proceed and unlock. Why? Just give me the fucking mission. And the thing that really pisses people off in this regard is that you already have very limited content. Like I said, the main campaign's about an hour and a half. Those side missions don't have any cutscenes. So you're talking maybe a half an hour each for each side mission. So what? 3.5 to 4 hours of content up to this point, and that's it. Well, just give me the fucking mission. Don't make me do bullshit to unlock content that I paid for, right? It's incredibly bad game design. It really is. It's amateur hour game design in that regard. So, really, when it comes down to it, if you do that, if you find where all these tapes are, which I didn't do, but apparently now there's all kinds of course, videos on the internet. Here they are, so you can actually unlock your mission, and you don't have to spend the time wasting your time with bullshit trying to find these items. You'll probably at the most get 4 to 4.5, maybe if you do things multiple times, 5 hours of gameplay out of Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes. Now, don't get me wrong. If you're a fan of the Metal Gear Solid series, you'll probably love those 5 hours. If you're a person who appreciated the Metal Gear Solid games previously, but always had difficulty with the level of difficulty that the games had, because you thought, oh, they get detected too much and you can die too quickly and the controls are very awkward. A lot of this stuff has been fixed. Perfect example here. I'm out laying on my stomach and a dude's walking my way and I'm like, he's going to detect me. I pull out my tranquilizer gun and I try to aim for his head and I can't really get the shot. Just by wiggling around with the thumbsticks, Snake in this game will now, it's common sense for us, because we're humans and we would have done this. If you're on your stomach, you can't get a shot, you roll onto your back and you lean up and you fire that way, right? Sitting up. Snake does it now. And this was the kind of thing that he never did in the previous games. They actually have these things that happen that make more sense. And you can tell that for what's in Ground Zeroes, immense amount of time and effort was put in there. The graphics, the adaptability now, the ease of use of controls, the multiple ways to do things, the intelligence, everything there it's top notch. And you can tell, if anything, what Ground Zeroes is a testament that when Phantom Pain comes out and actually has a lot of content, it's going to be an amazing game. The whole open world aspect seems like it could be very, very interesting. But what I have to say about Ground Zeroes is that it's a laughing stock. It's a joke, and it shouldn't exist, okay? And here's why I'm saying this. A lot of you might not know this. Back in the day, game magazines, I'm talking probably late 90s, early 2000s, game magazines used to always be packaged in with a disc. And this disc would have on it several demos, sometimes even like almost a pre-beta version of a game that's in development. Because these game studios back then, the internet was there, but it wasn't as widespread as it is now, where they could put out big videos of their games and stuff, and they wanted you to see their games months ahead of time they were working on. So you would buy a gaming magazine, whether it was console or PC. PC was a lot more frequent. You would put this disc into your PC, and you would have like a 2-hour demo of a game that you play, and you'd be like, wow, I like this game, and then you would eventually go buy the game. This was very commonplace, right? This was very common. Then that process kind of went away. And I hate to say it, but I hate the fact that it did, because now what ends up happening is instead of people playing a big, nice demo of a game to get a gist and get your hands on it and know what it's like, instead they just go and watch videos on the internet and watch someone else buy it or play it first, and then they say, oh, okay, well, I saw the video, now I know I like it or I don't like it, and then they go buy it. So it's different now. Things have changed. But this used to be commonplace. An hour and a half gameplay demo used to be like the standard, the norm. And that kind of went away, and now you've got a game studio who, Konami here, who has made basically what it is an embellished demo. It is only one small map with multiple side quests, but they're all on the same map. It's the same gameplay with a little bit of a spin. Really, the only thing different from that's a different mission from the main gameplay of Ground Zeroes is the mission where it's an on-rail shooter. Now, a lot of people might say, I don't want an on-rail shooter. I want Metal Gear Solid. Well, okay, you have a valid point. That's not really ever been part of Metal Gear Solid. Why is there on-rail shooter gameplay in this? If you want my opinion, it's because they wanted to have a little bit of variety, and they knew that if they didn't do it, people would bitch that the game was too similar in every single mission. So, the bottom line is this. From my opinion, I have to think of this but from a moral standpoint. Am I a fan of Metal Gear Solid? Yeah, I actually am. Even though I suck at the games, I actually am a fan of the games. And I enjoy them. And even though I make fun of Kojima for his long, overblown cutscenes, the fact that he can't cut dialogue down to be concise, and he's way too overblown, he has ridiculous, humor and drama that doesn't really belong, it's out of place in his game. I make fun of the guy, but the bottom line is his games are great. His games are fun, immersive, interesting characters, different locales. I love Metal Gear Solid 4, even though I think it really is an overblown movie because there's so many cutscenes in it, I still very much enjoyed the game. That's kind of the feeling I had when I played Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes. As I was playing it, I was like, wow, the improvements, the potential. I can't wait to get my hands on the full Phantom Pain game, and then just when you start feeling good about playing the game, it's over. The biggest slap in the face is that this game retails for $30. So it's half price of a full retail game, but this isn't a full retail game. This is a demo. This is a game demo. This should have been released just as 90 minutes. They shouldn't have done any of the side missions, in my opinion. It should have been just the 90-minute mission. It should have been released for free over PlayStation Network and Xbox Live as a promotional thing for people who are interested in Phantom Pain to see what it's going to be like. There is no excuse and no reasoning that Konami can produce that will say this game should have been sold in retail stores for $30. And the whole thing is a cheap and disrespectful money grab. Because they know, oh, it's Metal Gear Solid, fans of the series will run out in droves because, there's almost this cult-like mentality with a lot of people when it comes to the Metal Gear Solid series, that they're going to run out and buy it and be, oh, well, we got your money. It's absolutely ridiculous that this was produced, and that's what I mean. It's an anomaly. Never before have I seen a game where the main content is only an hour and a half long and they sell it for $30 in a store. It's unprecedented. It's insanely over-pretentious that they think that they're important enough and their game is good enough that an hour and a half is enough to satiate your $30. Now, keep in mind, there is side content, but it's all on the same map and it's all pretty much more of the same except for the on-rail shooter mission. So, again, is that warrant a $30 price tag? No. From a moral perspective, it should have been released for free as a demo. Now, that being said, I really liked it. So it's hard for me to legitimately give a game a review score when it's not really a game. It's a game demo. You know what I mean? And in fact, I'm going to leave it at that. I know that usually in the Hateful Truth, I give you a review score, and I say this is the definitive score. I can't. I can't even review and give a score to Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes because it's not a game. It's a demo. So if you're okay with buying a $30 demo, you know what I mean? Go for it. But I get the feeling that, unfortunately, what's going to happen is people who wanted to wait and see are the rumors true, now they know the game is as short as it is, you're going to have game stores with hundreds of copies of this game just sitting on the fucking shelf that will never be purchased. And the bottom line is this. Game stores, it was funny, when I went into GameStop and I traded it in, I actually traded it in that Friday to get another game that had come out. And the assistant manager of the store was there, and I'm friendly with him, and he says, let me tell you something, Phil. This week, every time that I sold this game, I was instructed by my management to warn the person who's buying the game and literally tell them, you have to understand this game is only about an hour and a half long unless you're going to do the side content, because they didn't want customers coming back in droves, angry and ripping pissed that they paid $30 for a game demo. And I mean, just think about that. The major retail chains are being told to tell the customers, be aware that this game's a ripoff. Just to avoid problems. So, how ridiculous. How is that fair to game stores who had no idea, okay, we'll sell this game, and they get all these copies, they buy them, and now they put it on the shelf, no one's going to buy it. It's a slap in the face. It's ridiculous, and I don't know how people cannot chastise Konami for doing this. You know, it wasn't Kojima's. That's the thing. A lot of people say, "Oh, Kojima." It wasn't Kojima's decision. Kojima doesn't make those decisions. Kojima makes the games. He doesn't sell the games, price the games, promote the games, or market the games. He just makes them. So he made this, and they probably said, "Oh, we have a great idea. We're going to sell it for $30." And he's like, "You do what you want, but I can't control that shit." You know. So now, how many people are going to be left with a bad taste in their mouth because they went out and spent $30 on this thing just to find out how short it was, and what the fuck was this? You know? And the other thing, the flip side of this, a lot of people are already speculating, well, here's what's probably going to happen. If you buy the collector's edition of Phantom Pain, it'll probably come with this for free. I agree, because I don't know what the fuck they're going to do with all the copies of this game. So it is what it is. Konami did what they wanted to do. It's a cheap money grab. It's disrespectful to the gamers and the retailers who agreed to sell this game. But for what it is, the content of the demo is great and gives me high hopes for Phantom Pain. So what I can say is this. I'm happy I played Ground Zeroes. I'm very, very positive and I'm very optimistic about the future of the series. I think that Phantom Pain could be very good based off of what I saw on Ground Zeroes, especially the graphics. Oh my god. But this game is a disrespectful slap in the face to gamers. It is not a game. Do not buy it. If anything, if you must play it, rent it. Go rent it for $5 somewhere and then put it back, because that's pretty much the value of it, okay? Don't be fooled with fanboyism. Oh my god, everything Kojima puts out there is gold. Do not buy Ground Zeroes. Rent it, borrow it, or watch a playthrough and then realize how good Phantom Pain could be. But do not give Konami your money. They're a bunch of fucking money-grabbing assholes. And the bottom line is this. If you weren't busy, Konami, making shit-ass games like Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2, maybe you wouldn't have to do a cheap money grab with Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes. But your management obviously doesn't know what the fuck they're doing, and there needs to be a little shift internally, okay? Alright, so that's it for the Hateful Truth review. I cannot give it a review score because it's not a game. It's a demo. And that's it. I hope that you feel that I gave you maximum truth and minimum bullshit on this new game release. And I thank you very much for watching The Hateful Truth. I will see you next time for another game review that is honest, truthful, and free of bullshit. Thanks everyone, and I'll see you later.